job. Do you have some controversial guilty pleasures?
Mm, combination of drinking rosé and eating M&Ms, but I don't know if that's a guilty pleasure.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Middle Ground. I'm Victoria Muradjan, and I'm your today's host. It feels surreal to think that The Middle Ground premiered almost a month ago. And what a better way to celebrate our 1 month anniversary episode than having a very special person today. Investigative reporter, author Lise Witteman. From co-founding Follow the Money's European desk to writing a book, Who's Watching Brussels, and even co-founding the very famous Schuman Show, Lise has made it her mission to uncover what a lot of people in this city would prefer to keep in the shadows. I know we promised you that this talk show is not going to be about politics, but about people. That is why today we'll show you a different Lise, someone that you might not know yet, but also a journalist who never hesitates to ask the toughest questions, but always remembers to laugh while doing it. Lisa, welcome to The
Hi,
Middle Ground.
great introduction.
It took a few cuts.
Those are the best.
I knew you personally through Follow the Money above and everything, but talking to you before the episode, I realized that you have so many more interesting stories to tell. But I want to start at the beginning. In 2018, you moved from The Hague to Brussels. So how was this transition? What was your life like before moving to the European bubble?
Yeah, I had a steady job for a newspaper, the Telegraaf, and I was working in The Hague as political reporter. And so I did, the daily politics, the highlights, the scandals, but just the reporting part of it. And I kind of missed digging deeper into stories, especially, for instance, when it comes to hunting scoops. I felt like, okay, then I have a story half a day earlier than someone else, but is the public really served by it, or should I uncover what otherwise would have stayed hidden? So, and the other thing is, I've always had an interest in Brussels, in Europe, and I knew, that is where the real power is. So as a journalist, I want to be there where the big power is. And that's why in 2018, it was a year before the elections, I said, okay, why not? When not, then let's do it now. And that's why I went to Brussels.
You mentioned that this is where the real power is. And I think for a lot of people who live in Europe and even live in Brussels, there is not this understanding is kind of there in theory, but it's not there. We mentioned that it's the second biggest lobbying capital in the world. Do you think that people actually understand how big of a power place, a concentration place Brussels is?
Yeah, no, but I even myself, I didn't have a clue. I knew because I followed politics, but still, I went to Brussels and I had no idea how influence works, where the power lies, how how all the people interact, and so really a world opened. I had never heard of something like a permanent representation. I had no clue. So yes, I went there totally, as stupid as anyone else. Looking for the stories and then wandering around. And I tried ever since to maintain a bit of that, wandering position, as if I still am an outsider, even though it, of course, gets tougher over the years.
Was it easy to do this transition from working in The Hague in I think a very Dutch kind of culture, working culture as well, to move to a very European and kind of mixed place where investigative journalism, I guess, wasn't a thing back when you moved as much as it is now?
Yeah, I really didn't know that. So I went there. I quit my job. I went as a freelancer. So instead of working at a team, suddenly I had to work for myself, and my income like dropped. Um, but I also, so I worked very, very hard because I needed to just earn the money, and also I didn't know anything yet, so I just went for it. But I also found it very fun. So many cultures, so many different view so many very intelligent and interesting people, actually, because I was a bit tired of seeing the same people in The Hague
Yeah.
every day. Um, but I was totally surprised by the lack of investigative journalism. I thought I would go to Brussels. There will be investigative journalists also from other countries, freelancers. We could team up. I know things about Dutch interest and their influence in Brussels, and other
Uh-huh.
people could be, would have the same knowledge about Italian interests in Brussels, and then we could, really see the whole puzzle and together have an overview. And then I was quite shocked, like, this is the heart of power, and there's hardly any like deep digging journalism. How can it be?
Hmm. Why do you think that's been the case?
Yeah, well, I can give a lecture about why it's the case that there is such a lack of investigative journalism, but one of the reasons is most national newspapers send one person to Brussels,
Uh-huh.
and then they think like, I have Europe covered, I have the EU covered, and they don't bother to think of also hiring freelancers. Freelancers therefore think, why should I go to Brussels? Every newspaper already has someone, they won't hire me, which is true. Um, and I think also for journalists, Brussels, the EU, has been not a very popular topic. I remember when I was studying journalism, and people ask like, where do you want to go? Who wants to go to Brussels? Me and one other lady were the only ones raising our hands. The others just wanted to cover sports or national politics. And the other thing is, the business model for EU focused media is selling, keeping your sources very close and selling the reports or the news and the updates to the diplomats, the lobbyists, people who really have a professional interest in Brussels. And so if you have to keep your sources very close to get the latest update and the latest information to sell it indeed to those with an interest, you're not going to kick those sources. You will be a little bit kind, and you won't ask them about corruption. You will ask them like, when is this policy matter going to be tabled? So it's a different angle, so to say.
We're going to talk about whether journalists are actually giving people in Brussels a hard time or not. But I want to talk about actually how you got into journalism in the first place. When we're talking about your childhood and your family, and I kind of understood, or it occurred to me that it was very natural for you to find yourself in journalism. And also, you told me this very funny story about how you set up an alternative paper in your high school because you thought that the previous one was an under censorship.
Yeah, well, it wasn't me. So two things. Yes, I went into journalism. A lot of people in my family actually are. So it was not something that was very strange to me. I'm the only idiot going to Brussels, though. And then when it comes to in high school, we had a newspaper that was, censored. There was a new director. He came in, and like the critical pieces we sometimes wanted to write about teachers or so, he said, no, I'm not going to, allow that to be put in. So not me, but one of the other people working for that school, people said, we have to set up an independent
Oh,
newspaper.
wow.
And so we did, and we found money by going to hunt for advertisement by the local hairdresser. And we only could, give the newspapers outside of the schoolyard. We couldn't, hand it out within the school borders. So it was very, we thought it was very rock and roll, obviously. But
It was very punk, I think, for that time. And also
yes,
to think like a lot of outlets, if they really invested the energy, that much energy and dedication into, fighting the censorship, I think we would have way better media and public space
of
overall.
course.
You set up the Follow the Money's the Brussels desk almost from scratch, I think 2021. And but you've been here already for 7 years. What kind of vision you had for Follow the Money when you first started doing it? And if you look back, do you feel like your gut was right about?
Yeah, one of the things that I still feel is most important is cooperation. So indeed, I was so much missing. I was missing cooperating with journalists from other countries. With as for instance, Shell is a Dutch company, in origin a Dutch oil and gas company, and so I can very easily trace back the influence of Shell on the Dutch government, and then from the Dutch government on Brussels affairs. So how did the influence of Shell reach Brussels through the Dutch government? But I can't do the same when it comes for indeed Spanish or Hungarian lobby affairs. And if you really want to understand the full picture, you have to cooperate. And so I've always wanted to do more of these like cross-border cooperations just for the sake of understanding properly EU affairs. You know, that's what the lobby offices do as well, right?
Yeah.
They cooperate with national lobbyists from all countries to, you know, act together. Journalists were just really outdated in that sense. And Follow the Money was set up like we have a few people who are really the EU nerds. We have those in Brussels who understand about the procedures and the regulations and who know who the MEPs are, etc. But also to, from the very start, work together. And one of the biggest investigations was into the 750 billion recovery fund, the EU COVID recovery fund, and we did so with journalists from over 21 or EU member states.
Wow, that's
so that was
fantastic.
huge also for us, like, okay, what are we doing here? But it really helped understand all the challenges, let me call it that way, that the recovery fund faced. And so that's something we still do, and I still believe in very much. And what we started doing recently is also to start buying stories from smaller investigative platforms throughout Europe that do, for instance, a very interesting investigation into Maloney, and that we feel like this is not just an Italian story. This should be translated to English with, of course, enough context for like a wider European crowd to understand. And that is what we've been developing this year. And that I find so much fun, because then you can really shed a light on European affairs and everybody will know what is going on.
Are you actually having fun when doing this very serious and important work? Because I think a lot of people would associate that with a lot of pressure, and also there's the part that you have to keep a lot of secrets, for example, and that you cannot share with your family, with your friends, and there's probably like you want to talk about it with someone, but you cannot. How do you handle this keeping secrets until your story is out or published, or sometimes even you can work on stories for years, right? And you know something and you cannot tell it. I think I would have a very hard time doing that, especially, I mean, I would definitely share with Valeria. But tell me about your process when you're working with secrets and hidden facts.
Yeah, so luckily I work with a team. So when it's like super secretive, we keep it very, very small. Then only one or two people will know. And then otherwise, of course, we can joke within the office about, you know, the crazy things we've heard that we can't prove, or we will never prove. But you know, those are kind of information we can share. But I totally understand you. You know, you shouldn't make me a press person. I will just leak everything all the time and tell the world about what's actually going on. You pour one glass of, you know, wine into me, and I will chat. So no, I think my biggest I'm very lucky to have a very bad memory. So you can tell me everything. I will have to forget it next morning, and only if you remind me, then I'm like, yeah, now I recall. So yeah, so in that sense, you can tell me everything, I will forget.
Oh, that's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
And then do you have
If I don't write it down, though.
Lise, you have a very demanding job, but you are also a mother of two preschoolers. Is it easy, or I think it's a stupid question.
Super easy.
How do you manage to be a mom of two kids and also have this very demanding job?
The answer is by not doing everything perfect, especially motherhood. I'm not like the mother of the year. I'm very lucky to have a husband who can work from home, so that makes my life so much easier. We divide tasks very equal, or maybe he chips in a bit more than I do. So yeah, the answer is especially those first years, because my children are now 3 and 5, were like super hard, and the lack of sleep, and then having to be focused during the work days. No, combination work life and motherhood was not ideal, especially working full time. But I couldn't have imagined doing it any other way. You know, I really, for me, my work is so much my life as well. I tried after the first child to work 4 days, but that didn't work. I really want to do it all.
And do you feel like there is a supportive system or infrastructure in Brussels to help moms who go back to work? I mean, we discussed, I think, one time about breastfeeding, how there are no proper facilities in the European institutions. And that's for you as an external, but for people who work there, for example, would it be possible to take their kids to work?
Well, no, I really don't. I don't see how. So the good thing is, compared to the Netherlands, I already thought Brussels was a blessing because in the Netherlands, the day you give birth, you're kicked out of the hospital again. Have fun at home, take care of yourself, and childcare is there so much more expensive than here. And also in the Netherlands, there's so much a culture of mothers working part time, and then at the schoolyard, you're like, you work full time. Why did you have children in the first place if you can't be a mom? So for me, Brussels, compared to what I hear from my friends back in the Netherlands, is great. But honestly, if I hear the stories indeed from people working in the European Parliament, for instance, and I remember I one time after I just had given birth of my second one, and then after 2 months I had to go to Strasbourg for something I really couldn't skip, and I had to breastfeed in the train on the toilet. It was the most. That was not a great
Experience.
experience at all. No.
This doesn't seem to encourage women to go back to work and in the economy.
Everybody has to make their own choice. Totally.
And do you feel like the acceptance and perception of women, like and that their professionalism, changes after you become a mother?
Seeing all these women working and knowing they have children, I now know, how hard they work. And my generation of women tends to hide that they also have children. Like, I can do it, no problem. I'm totally the same person as before I was a mother, because we are like, we feel like we have had the chance. We go for the equal opportunity. So we are not going to back down by children. But honestly, it's super super hard, and I really applaud women who fight so hard. But I also think society has to catch up, because we have to have equal payment, equal, how long people take care of the child after giving birth. If you don't do that, you're really denying women equal chances and equal joy in life.
Is there a supportive community behind closed doors in your own, in the comfort and privacy of your own home, where you can have friends who live in the city, who understands the challenges of this city, and yet empathize with you and support you whatever you are going through?
I was very lucky. So during COVID, that started just after my first one, was born in 2020. I used to hide away a bit in Holland House. I was still freelance, and Holland House is like this place in the Brussels bubble where the Dutch community tends to get together, have drinks, etc. And there, me and some other new mothers used to like stay. Maybe we didn't follow exactly the COVID regulations, and we supported each other. And then we became great friends. Because of COVID, we were brought together in a sense. Everybody normally has their busy lives, but now we were all in the same place, supporting each other. And ever since, we have been.
And you authored the book Who's Watching Brussels. I wanted to ask you, what was your process? Where you were going to find inspiration to write? Like, was there a special place in the city, a cafe, a park where you were going for an inspiration and to be able to write?
Yeah, so Who's Watching Brussels was written in the year running up to the most recent European elections. And it's actually a story or a book about the findings that me and my team had over the years. Because, of course, these are all these separate stories, these separate investigations, but there are also some similar things. And one of the similar things is the big question: how can this happen? How can it be? How can these scandals, this corruption, mismanagement, what is the essence? How can it happen also again and again, even despite the warnings? And Who's Watching Brussels is about the lack of accountability, the lack of transparency, the lack of proper eyes on Brussels. One of the big issues is indeed nobody knows what goes on. And of course, they know in Brussels, so they care less.
Do you feel like when people are open-minded about, or they kind of fear that they're going to lose their job or their reputation, is it easy to find whistleblowers?
No.
No. How do you
It's really hard.
how do you do that? Can you share a crazy story with us about someone who came to you with this?
Oh, we've had crazy stories, but I'm not good enough in the details. There's one story of a teammate of mine who met up with a source, and it seemed that he had very proper information. And then the next week, when he tried to connect again, he was in prison for murder. So,
What?
yes,
My
some
God.
crazy things happen. So we couldn't really rely on that information anymore, as you can understand. No, it's people are closed in Brussels on by fear of their career, by not knowing how they should be transparent, and I think it would be very liberating, obviously, if they come to us a bit more often. But it's hard to find. The best stories you find by connecting the dots.
We have this very interesting tradition in our show where we ask people to bring with them something that they cannot live without. And I wanted to ask you, Lise, what is something that you cannot live and function without in Brussels?
Yeah, there's this one bakery in Brussels. Can I say the name?
You can't say the name, but it's no advertising,
No,
guys.
it's Renard Bakery on Place Fernand Kok. And I've been living ever
That's it.
since I've started living in Brussels. I live very near that place. And it has been, my salvation, but also, my enemy, because it has the greatest cinnamon roll. I swear to you, my first child is built out of cinnamon rolls. I could eat like a few a day. And
We are
I-
also eating a few a day while editing our episodes. Can you
Again.
just put
Yeah.
cinnamon
the
rolls?
cinnamon rolls.
We are going to make sure that these are going to be destroyed after
Yeah.
after the recording.
Don't wait until they dry, right?
No, but it is also one of my favorite ones. You have a lot of fun doing what you do, and you feel like you found your routine in this city. And I want to really ask you, what would be your recommendation to the people who are moving here and are building family and trying to have their careers at the same time? What would you recommend them to pay attention to or beware of?
I think if you move to Brussels,
Uh-huh.
there's so much to explore. I really love it's such a mix of cultures, of people. There's actually a lot of opportunities and voids to be filled if you really look around. And I think the best way is to go out and to go outside of your own bubble, to go to events or to enjoy a hobby that takes you outside, of only the expat life, because that can be very fast paced and but to really try to become a bit of part of the community, even if it's like little things, because I think the people of Brussels is what makes Brussels, vibrate. It's and if you manage to discover the people of Brussels, then you discover Brussels and how fun it actually is.
And you are also one of the people of Brussels. And when you are off duty from being a mom, being a partner, and being a journalist and writer, how do you have fun? How do you
Yes.
decompress?
Yeah, I go out to dinner. I love to go, I'm from the Netherlands. High cuisine there is a sandwich of cheese. So here living in
You
Brussels.
said it. I did not say that.
So yes, I love to go to like the French, Belgium restaurants. I love to have a glass of wine. Not too many these days anymore because I'm getting old and I can't really take it anymore. But yes, to enjoy Brussels outside life, I love it. Yeah.
We also have another interesting segment where it's just quick rapid fire questions that I wanted to go through to understand you. I played this with Kelly as well, your co-founder of together with whom you founded the Schuman Show, and she made some scandalous statements. So I wonder what you're going to say
You're
about.
laying the bar high.
So let's start. You don't think about it much, just one or two words, and let's go. How do you explain your job to your kids?
Typing and talking.
That's fair. Your ideal networking event?
Doesn't exist.
Your favorite journalist?
My mentor from when I was an intern. She's still always in my head asking me all the questions like, is this really honest? Are you really doing the hardest thing? Yeah.
That's how you mentor someone. You leave a mark in their mind. Journalistic scoops, overrated or underrated?
Totally overrated.
What's the most overused Brussels buzzword?
All of them are.
All of them.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh no, innovation.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was competitiveness.
It's more or less the same.
Favorite park or place to spend the weekend with your family and kids?
Royal Park, it's also nearby.
Your favorite investigative tool?
Yeah, I always get Integrity Watch. It's from the Transparency International, and it's playing around with the transparency register, so seeing where all the lobbyists went and so I love it.
Okay,
Mm.
we'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
A policy area that's way sexier than people think.
Agriculture.
Someone said fisheries, and now we are very curious about this too. I think we need to find someone. And last question: if Brussels was an animal, what kind of animal would it be?
If Brussels was an animal, it would be parrot.
Parrot. Oh, that's interesting. Why? I want you to elaborate.
Yeah, it was a quick, full of color and chatty.
I want to ask you kind of the last question before we wrap up with a question from our previous speaker. If you were not doing this, if you're not doing the investigative journalism, what would you do?
And maybe I would have become a judge. A niece of mine is a judge, and she also. I think all those cases are so interesting, and she also goes to, for instance, Kosovo or Ukraine, or to help fight corruption together with other judges, and I think that's super interesting. So
Okay. Well, if the career falls through,
we can always try, right?
we know where to find you. Our former guest, Mehdi, left an interesting question for you. He asked about what does the dating scene look like in Brussels for you? And I know that you are married, so you didn't experience, but do you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, well, I don't know if my husband will watch this, but I was a bit disappointed moving to Brussels, being already, set up with my husband, and because I would have loved to date all those different nationalities here in Brussels. Although I hear all my friends in Brussels complain all the time about how bad the dating scene is, but I would have loved to, look around a bit.
Yeah, I think everybody wants what they don't have, including that single people want to be married and married people want to be single.
Obviously, and you can always hire my kids if you want to. Yeah.
If you need to still feel like go on a date with your husband, this is a beautiful place to take care of kids. Lise, how do you find your middle ground?
How do I find my middle ground? I think I fantasize about a year that's less busy. And then I think I can maybe make it work somehow, and then it always, falls apart again. But no, that middle ground has still to come.
Fantasizing about better times.
Yeah.
Do you want to leave a question for our next guest?
Yes, I'm always very interested in what is the pivotal moment in your life. What was the pivotal moment? That the decision was made that really took you somewhere else and that changed your view.
Okay, well, we'll make sure that Valeria asks that question to our next guest. Meanwhile, I'm really thank you for coming to the middle ground and to our Blue Catch. I hope that we get to know you a little bit better than everybody else does in Brussels through sharing your story and your worries and your concerns. And we hope that your story will serve as an inspiration to a lot of women and professionals working in the city or preparing to move to Brussels.
Well, it was such a pleasure.
Thank you very much for joining us today, and we hope to see you soon for the next episode. Bye bye.
This show was advertised by Renard Bakery.
We hope that after this they sponsor us. My God,
There's already such long lines there always, but now it will be even
also
worse.
Their waffles are quite good.
Yes, and their bread. So when I eat my Dutch cheese in the morning, I will use.
Where's your
bread.
favorite Dutch cheese?
Yeah, so demi-vieux, and then you can only get it on the market in Flagey. So on Saturday mornings, I go to Flagey to get my Dutch cheese, and it costs a fortune, but I need it.
I think Brussels markets are actually quite expensive. We also had a market a few months ago here for the first time. I just went there for like 15 minutes, and I realized that I think it's better to go to Lidl. God bless Lidl.
It's on my street, I go there. I have kids growing up. My husband is 2 meters tall. They are also growing like crazy. On Saturday, I go there with huge bags and like this little trawler, like the
Disappeared
old
by
lady
Monday.
trawler, and to pick up bananas as if I'm like feeding Monkey Town. And
What are their passions? Do they already show some inclinations for a certain career? And
no, I don't think I've I've doubts about how high they can rise in life.
no,
But maybe they surprise me.
no, my God, no. I hope not. Because what does your husband do, by the way?
Something very complicated about mobile money in Africa. Thank you. He works for a fintech.
Oh, okay.
He's a software engineer. Now he's some
So you
manager.
are the cool one in the couple.
He earns the money.
That's a nice deal, actually. It's better to be the cool one while the other person earns the money. We are manifesting that for ourselves as well.